From Nashville, Tennessee. Matt will do our last broadcast from up there in Nashville, coming up here from 3 to 6, but we're going to get you there on the Hunt Palmer Show, morning show, and Matt back in action here in Baton Rouge tomorrow. But three teams making the rounds in Nashville today: Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Tennessee. I will talk about them all over the next 2 hours. Going to give you a little bit of a summer update from LSU's baseball players, how things are going for a few players as they get things going this summer. We'll have our SEC order of finish by the end of the show today, as voted on by the assembled media is the word I was looking for there. And a little Saints in the second hour as well. But I want to start with a soundbite that's actually from Monday. I know that it's Thursday, and Monday's a long way in the rearview mirror, but I missed this as things happen during SEC media days. There's a lot of quotes, a lot of videos, a lot of interviews, a lot of sound bites, a lot of everything in Nashville, and sometimes you miss things. And this is a quote that I heard on Matt's show in an interview that he did with LSU running back Josh Williams. Bear with us. The sound quality is not perfect. It's not static or anything. It's just a little bit modularized, but you'll be able to hear everything he has to say, and I think that's the important part. So this quote from Josh Williams brought me back about a month, and I'll tell you why after we hear it.
I look at it, this is my perspective on it. I'm playing Madden, and
I love where he's going.
I'm playing Madden, and I'm playing with the All-Star team, and I got Barry Sanders in the game, and I'm the coach. I control the game, so I want to put Bo Jackson in the game. Doesn't mean that one of the two one is better than the other. It's just my personal opinion on what I think should go for the game right now at this place and time. So we all understand that, and I think once you understand that, you become closer as a team, become more of a brotherhood, because now you're not fighting against, oh, I'm getting more reps than him. Now it's more like, hey, Josh, go out there and get that 2 yards, man. Before we count on you, man. Like, it's more like that, you know? And I think that's what separates the teams and from the families, you know?
He's going through a Madden reference there that maybe not everyone gets, but he's talking about the running back group. And he's talking about the fact that, Josh Williams played a lot of football at LSU, senior. John Emery played a lot of football at LSU, senior. Noah Cain played a lot of football at Penn State and LSU, is a senior. They bring in Logan Diggs. You've got two freshmen. We know at this point that LSU has a bajillion running backs on this roster on scholarship, all of whom think of themselves as SEC backs that could be featured in the offense. At times, Josh Williams has been that guy. At times, John Emery has been that guy. At times, Noah Cain has been that guy. Armani Goodwin's been scratching, clawing, trying to find his way in there. You got 2 4-star freshmen, one that's the all-time leading rusher in the history of the state of Louisiana. These guys don't expect to sit on the bench. And the question is, how do you keep all these guys happy? And Josh Williams is speaking for himself and is, in a sense, speaking for the team. But I haven't talked to John Emery or Armani Goodwin. I hadn't talked to Trey Holly. I haven't talked to Logan Diggs or Armani Goodwin. I don't know how they feel. But that bite that I heard, when I heard it, I went, oh my gosh. That's the exact same thing I heard from Cade Beloso. That's the exact same thing I heard from Hayden Travinsky. That's the exact same thing I heard from Gavin Dugas. Gavin Guidry moving positions. That's the same thing I heard from Braden Jobert. And I'm not suggesting that one soundbite means that championship team's attitude is right there on this championship team's attitude, so they're going to win a championship. I'm just saying, in this era of college sports, where you've got people picking places based on money, you've got people transferring 1, 2, 3 times, you've got a lot of folks who want what's best for them. People who outwardly suggest, no, this is about the team and we're going to help each other. It's about being part of a team and working towards a common goal is refreshing. I'm not going to admonish a 21-year-old who can make $140,000 because of a decision they make to leave that place and go that place. That's a nice chunk of change for a 21-year-old. I'm not going to criticize players for transferring. They transfer out of LSU all the time. They transfer into LSU all the time. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is once you do assemble a team and you do create a large amount of depth, which is the goal, but also can create a problem, to have the players outwardly suggest, this is no problem. I'll go in there when it's my turn. He'll go in there when it's his turn. I'm better at this. He's better at that. We're just trying to win. Coach, if you need me for 22 carries against Florida, I'm in. You need me for 3, I'm in. You need me to pass protect, I'm in. You need me to catch some swing routes, I'm in. You need me to run down on special teams because the other guys are playing a lot of running back today, I'm in. I'm going to personally bring that up whenever I hear it. And I just could not help but be immediately taken back to that baseball team when I heard Josh Williams say that. Because that baseball team had so much depth and was given such a direct message in January, and they walked it and talked it for 5 months. And this football team is short on depth at some places. I'm not sure that they've got a ton of depth at safety. I'm not sure that they've got a ton of depth at linebacker. But I'm sure they have a ton of depth at running back. And only one of those guys is on the field at a time. And only one of them is going to lead the team in carries on a given Saturday. And for Josh Williams to take that question and say, hey, we know. It's not about that. It's about being a team. That's a good thing. That is a really, really good thing. And again, maybe he's the polished guy who was chosen to go to SEC Media Days, and that's the way he feels, and maybe the other guys don't. That's what made the baseball team so special. It wasn't just one guy that stood up there and said, yeah, it's all about the team. Guys that weren't playing a lot of the year were saying it and echoing it and saying it independent of each other. That's something I want to kind of get into as LSU gets into fall camp and see how the other running backs feel. I'd like to get Frank Wilson's thoughts on how he's going to approach it, because I know that Jay Johnson was outwardly spoken about the message he was giving his team, about the young stars he brought in the number 1 class in the country. Hey, you might have to wait. So he's telling that to Paxton Kling. He's telling that to Jared Jones. He's telling that to Ethan Fry. In the same way that Frank Wilson's probably got to tell that to Trey Holly. He's got to tell that to Caleb Jackson. He's telling some of the older guys, hey, you may have to move aside like Leon Landry did in his time. And he had to tell that to Cade Beloso. You need to tell that to Hayden Travinsky. Just like Frank Wilson may have to tell that to Josh Williams. He may have to tell that to John Emery, Noah Cain. And how that team and group internalizes it will tell you the story. And winning cures almost everything. If you win, it's going to be okay. And losing tests people. But if you're talking about building a championship team, culture's got to be a part of that. And I was so impressed with Josh Williams' answer about that. Because he could easily, as a fifth-year guy who was probably the most dependable back they had last year, say, hey, I've earned this. This is my shot. This is my time. This could be a money year for me. And instead, it's like, yeah, when I play Madden, sometimes I take out Barry Sanders and put in Bo Jackson. Because it doesn't mean I like one better or dislike one. It just means I feel like it's that person's time. And that, to me, was probably the best soundbite I heard in LSU's entire day. And I thought the 3 guys they brought up there were great. I heard them on Matt's show. I heard them with Jacob and T-Bob. You heard Brian Kelly in the big room. You heard on local TV. Saw tweets of quotes and all kinds of stuff. But that quote from Josh Williams, even though it's a little tough on the ears with the sound quality, really perked me up. I was like, oh, I like that. Because it's not too long ago, there were some real issues over there off Nicholson. Real issues. And I'm not here to tell you that it's perfect over there right now, because I don't know. I'm not there. I liked the quote. And I think that it's really applicable to the group of guys we just saw that were a really talented crew with expectations on them that cashed in at the end. And this is going to be an LSU team that's got more expectation than they've had probably since 2020. And how do they handle it? If that's any indication, it's going to be pretty good. So that was really cool soundbite from Josh Williams. Want to take a little bit of time here at the end of this first segment to thank you all, the listeners, for your incredible generosity with the fundraising over the last week that I've been doing for the Baton Rouge Children's Advocacy Center. We posted that online tip jar for the last week and a half, and y'all have been so generous with your money. I can't express my gratitude enough. As I've told you the last couple of days, I got a chance to go over to the Children's Advocacy Center last Friday and take a tour and look at some of the impact that those unbelievable employees are making on the young people in our city. They work with children who have been victims of abuse, whether it's physical or sexual at a young age, whether they've been maybe a witness to a violent crime. And at that point, they're part of an investigation and have to go through the interrogation and all that goes into that. And that's what the Baton Rouge Children's Advocacy Center does. They take those children, they walk them through that process, and at the end, they're there for some therapy if that needs to happen. I saw a great picture that a child drew that was one piece of paper with a line right down the middle, cutting it in half. And on one side, it was raining, and there was a girl crying, and it was cloudy, and it said before therapy. And on the other side of the page, it was sunshine and rainbow and a big smile and a teddy bear. It said after therapy. And it was it's a jarring thing to look at for those young people in our area that are put in such a bad position early in their lives. And the Baton Rouge Children's Advocacy Center is there to help. And we were trying to do as much as we could to raise money for them. We went to the event last night at LaBerge. It was a phenomenal event. It was wonderfully attended. The silent auction was amazing. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson signed items, and a bunch of Saints stuff. Drew Brees signed items. Kevin Falk was there as a celebrity waiter. Eddie Kennison was there as a celebrity waiter. Roger Cador was there as a celebrity waiter. A lot of the people in the sports arena being recognized, and it was really, really cool and really fun. It was an honor for me for the first time to be a part of that, and we raised a ton of money for the Baton Rouge Children's Advocacy Center, and it was an honor for me to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to going back next year. But I wanted on the air to thank you all so much for your generosity, because my online tip jar performed really, really well, and that's not because of me, it's because of y'all. So thank you so much for that. We're going to talk some football for the rest of this hour. When we come back, Lane Kiffin and his representatives up there in Nashville took to the microphones, and I've got some thoughts on Ole Miss this year, and that's next.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best sauce.
Haniger, join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. The predictions from SEC Media Days are out, plus Bruce Marshall and Troy Macker stop by. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's talk about the Ole Miss Rebels. Lots going to be made of Lane's appearance today. I heard Charlie talking about it earlier on Live at Lunch. I've seen some tweets about it. Lane's hair was not looking great today for SEC Media Days. I think the guy'd rather just put a visor on and go to work. But you got to throw the suit and tie on, go up to Nashville. It was not a great look for Lane. Then he got a question today from a media member that said that he's often referred to as Lane Kiffin, said he looks like him. Then the guy said, "Do you think I look like you?" And they went back and forth and talked about Daniel Tosh and all that. So some non-football stuff with Ole Miss going on up at Media Days. But I want to talk about the Rebels and kind of where they sit entering this season. In Lane's first year, the COVID year, they went 5-5. They looked good on offense. They showed some promise. And then in his second year, they won 10 games. And there was a lot of buzz in Oxford. Enough buzz to make him look over at Auburn, I think, after last year. And that buzz of the 10-win season rolled into 2022, which was last year. And Ole Miss was 7-0 when they came to Baton Rouge. I think a lot of y'all realized that. And then they got up 17-3 on LSU. So you're coming off a 10-win season. You're 7-0 in Tiger Stadium with a 17-3 lead in the second quarter. LSU scored 28 unanswered points in that game. You know that LSU ran away from in the second half, threw a shutout in the second half, actually. And the Rebs lost 5 of 6 down the stretch last year, and the bloom kind of fell off the rose there. Lane Kiffin did not go to Auburn. They, of course, hired Hugh Freeze. And Lane's back in Oxford coaching Ole Miss this year, coming off an 8-5 season. You know, I think a lot of people before last year considered Lane Kiffin's offense high-flying and wide open and spread and throw it all over the place. And that, you know, makes a lot of sense based on what he did in his first couple of years at Ole Miss. But last year, with no Matt Corral and with Jackson Dart at the helm and a pretty good offensive line and 2 really good backs, Ole Miss became the best running team in the SEC. Quinshon Judkins as a freshman ran for 1,567 yards. He ran for 16 touchdowns. Both of those are Ole Miss school records. Beat Dexter McCluster and Deuce McAllister, and Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, the law firm. Most ever. And Zach Evans was no slouch. He ran for 936 yards, 9 touchdowns. I mean, some of the numbers they piled up in single games running the football were amazing. 316 against Georgia Tech, 448 against Auburn, 390 against A&M, 463 on Arkansas. These are rushing totals, not total yards. Running the ball. That was their identity last year. And I think that's a big testament, in my opinion, to Lane's versatility. He can air it out, go throw for 4,000 yards. He can pound it away. He's just a really good play caller and offensive coach. We'll get to the defense here in a second. But this year, the most interesting thing surrounding Ole Miss is the quarterback spot, because Jackson Dart is back. But they brought in 2 transfers. Spencer Sanders is a 5th-year player. He's out of options. And he comes to Ole Miss, a team with an incumbent starter. And we know that Walker Howard went. And I was listening to Matt. They did a cool thing with Sports Talk Mississippi where Richard Cross and Matt simultaneously appeared on each other's shows. Our station on Radio Row has headsets with the microphone that comes off the earpiece, and Richard Cross's station's working off microphones. So what they did was they both put on headsets for 104.5 ESPN, and they both held microphones for Super Talk Mississippi, and they both went on each other's show. And I was listening to Richard and Matt talk, and Richard, who is plugged in at Ole Miss, he's an Ole Miss guy. He does their baseball games for the SEC Network. He's a rebel. Said Jackson Dart's going to be the starter. And Matt said, well, why did Spencer Sanders go there then? And Richard Cross's answer was pretty simple. He goes, look, I don't think Spencer Sanders had as many options as people might think. He was a fairly highly thought of recruit. He was a 4-year starter at Oklahoma State, so he has name recognition. And when he went in the transfer portal, everybody's eyes got big because, hey, that's a guy that, has been in our mind the last 4 years. But I mean, Spencer Sanders, 58% completion last year, 2,600 yards, 17 touchdowns and 9 picks in 10 games. I mean, wasn't great last year. He was fine. And Jackson Dart wasn't great last year. He was fine. Threw 20 touchdowns, 11 picks, about 3,000 yards. So it's not an uber talented quarterback room, but it sounds like Jackson Dart is going to be the guy. And any way you slice it, whoever the guy is, they're going to be handing the ball to Quinshon Judkins a lot. He's going to be massively the focal point of this Ole Miss offense. The defense over the last 7 games in Oxford allowed 35 points per game. That dog will not hunt. So Pete Golding leaves Camp Saban and goes over to Camp Kiffin. I got to think the working environment's a little bit different. Huh? Got to think it's a little bit different, working for Saban, working for Kiffin. But he'll come in and try to stabilize an Ole Miss defense that's just been shaky. And that's the thing with a lot of these coaches in the SEC. Can you pair this elite offensive production with really good defense? Can they do that in Knoxville? Can they do that in Oxford? Can you be a great offensive team with a really good play caller and an offensive-minded head coach? And can you build a really good defense around that? I would suggest it'd be easier to do that in Knoxville than it would be Oxford, but that's what Pete Golding is tasked with. Now, the schedule is soft to start for the first 3 games. They got Mercer coming to Oxford, so they can score 80 on them. Then they're, wildly enough, going to Tulane to play at Ullman. They're going to play on campus, not the Dome. They're going to play uptown in week 2, and then they'll play Georgia Tech, who they annihilated in Atlanta last year. Georgia Tech's bad. So that's a good, soft 3-game stretch. But buckle up after that, Rebs, because week 4 is in Tuscaloosa, and week 5, LSU comes to Oxford. So that's where, if you're Ole Miss, you would love to get one of those. Because if you can start to pick away at the rest of the West. You're a 50-50 at worst against Texas A&M, against Arkansas, against Mississippi State. You should beat Auburn. But those are the ones that you really need to win to have the season you want to have. The problem for Ole Miss, from a scheduling perspective, is they catch the worst crossover available in college football. And that is their East opponent is at Georgia. And that's not going to be a lot of fun. I shouldn't say that. It'll be a lot of fun for the Ole Miss and Georgia fans in Athens having some fun on a college football weekend. It will be very little fun for the Ole Miss football team once they get on the field with Georgia. That's the scheduling crux of it. So you do play what will, in the next hour and a half be deemed to be the 3 best teams in the SEC. That's just what we think in July. But for Kiffin, it's about creating some more momentum. You had the buzz. You inherited a program that was not great. The Freeze debacle and then Luke, whatever that was. And then you do a pretty good job in the COVID year. And then you do a great job in year 2. And you get to the Sugar Bowl and everything's awesome. And then you were 7-0 and you had a lead in Tiger Stadium and it all fell apart. Can he rekindle this thing? Because it feels like he's now going to be there for a few more years. Like when Kiffin got to Ole Miss, you didn't have the sense it was going to be a long-term thing. He had his eyes on the bigger prize. And we all thought at the end of the season last year, Auburn was that. Because he's not leaving Ole Miss for Texas Tech. He's not leaving Ole Miss for Arizona State or Stanford. He's not leaving for Michigan State. He's leaving Ole Miss for the program up where he can win a national championship. Auburn's proven they can be that. In this century, they've gone undefeated twice. They've won a national championship. They played for another one. Like, that would have been the logical step up. And we thought it was coming after year 3. But it didn't. So now, like, you waiting on Texas? You think they're going to call? You think the bottom falls out in Norman and they kick Venables to the side and that's your landing spot? I mean, there's not that many jobs that you're going to jump to at this point. So it's now kind of more, in my eyes, about him building a program and sustaining top half of the West. I mean, that's as good as you can do at Ole Miss, top half of the West annually. You're not going to be a championship-level program there. Now, Hugh Freeze was one wild play against Arkansas with throwing laterals over their head from getting to Atlanta, so that looks possible. And with a 12-team playoff, okay, the door cracks a little bit more open. But I think Lane Kiffin is going to be at Ole Miss for a few more years now. Because this was the chance he had to jump. So, can he rekindle some of that? Can he create more momentum in Oxford? Because it stalled last year. I mean, losing the Egg Bowl, bad luck on your home field. So, I'm worried about their defense a little bit. I'm just rarely going to be concerned with Ole Miss's offense while Lane Kiffin's there. As an LSU fan, I'd be very concerned about it. But as far as like being a quality unit, their offense is going to be good. He can do it with a mobile quarterback. He can do it with an upright quarterback. He can do it with a great running game. He can do it opening up and passing. He's just as good a play caller as there is in college football. But that quick exit that I thought was coming didn't necessarily show up. So for Ole Miss this year, I think middle of the road. It feels like 7 or 8 wins. You got to see how they handle those 50-50 games. I like LSU in Oxford. I don't like them to beat Alabama or Georgia on the road, obviously. And we'll see how they handle the middle of the pack. I think one of the, they're right there on that level to me with Texas A&M. Like, who wins the 50-50 game and who loses it? One of those teams ends up with 8 or 9 wins. One of them ends with 7 or 6. That's kind of where I have Ole Miss right now. And I think Lane Kiffin's kind of there for the long haul. So I shouldn't say the long haul. I don't think he's going to be there in 7 years. But I do think he's going to be there for 3 more. We'll see. That's our look at the Ole Miss Rebels who are taking their turn up there in Nashville. Our coverage from Nashville brought to you all week long by our friends at Hudco Roofing, by Rev Business, as well as Relief Windows. Thank them for sending our guys up there to Nashville. It's been a lot of fun listening to all the content that they've rolled through all week long. When we come back, talk about South Carolina. That's next.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile. on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Our final day from Radio Row, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Tennessee take the big stage. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So, as is often the case in sports debate, you can frame things to make an argument the way you select to. What I mean by that is I can tell you two very, very different stories about South Carolina's season last year. I can. just a matter of which one you choose to put more emphasis on. This is a South Carolina team that last year got blasted by Arkansas. The final score was 44-30. It was nowhere near that. Arkansas wasn't great last year. Georgia embarrassed South Carolina last year, 48-7. It was an annihilation. South Carolina played Missouri at home and scored 10 points. They lost 23-10. Florida was not good last year. They crushed South Carolina, 38-6. That's not one bad week. Those 4 performances are awful. But this is a South Carolina team that was 6-4 headed into the last 2 weeks of the season where they were playing Tennessee and at Clemson. So that's staring 6-6 right between the eyes. Right? You're 6-4. You're playing Tennessee, who's lost 1 game all year to Georgia, and you're playing Clemson, who you never beat. And they found a way to win both of those games to get to 8-4. And for some reason, Spencer Rattler showed up against Tennessee and Clemson and was Heisman level. Against Tennessee, he was 30 of 37 for 438 and 6 touchdowns with no picks. We've seen games where quarterbacks get hot. Steven Garcia against Alabama in 2010 for a South Carolina example. Zach Calzada a couple of years ago against Alabama in College Station. I mean, you can talk about Johnny Manziel or Joe Burrow in Tuscaloosa, but those are Heisman-winning quarterbacks. These are just some guys that they get hot. KJ Costello got hot in Tiger Stadium, and what are you going to do? He's just dropping it in the bucket. Well, what you do would be play some zone defense, Bo, but that didn't happen. But Tennessee had no answer. And then he came back the next week against Clemson and threw for 360 yards and 2 touchdowns. In those 2 games, against Tennessee and Clemson, Spencer Rattler threw for 798 yards. Some rough math says that's just under 400 a game, and 8 touchdowns. In the other 11 games South Carolina played, he threw 10 touchdowns. So you tell me what team was South Carolina last year. If you believe it's the team that boat raced Tennessee and beat Clemson, okay, you can build to that. I'll live with it. If you believe they're the team that couldn't score on Missouri or Florida, well, they showed that at times they were that too. But far more often this time of year, we turn to what we saw in November, December, and January. I think we're going to eliminate the bowls from our thought process because we know those are destroyed and they're never coming back. Teams don't care about them. Players don't play in them. They've sit out for the draft. They go in the transfer portal. Quarterbacks aren't playing. Bowls are a joke. They're an absolute joke at this point. So we're not going to put a ton of stock into that. But these were regular season games where everybody was trying, and South Carolina showed up and was really good. I was looking at the recruiting rankings for Shane Beamer to kind of see how that's going because it's certainly not something I pay attention to day to day. And they were 16th nationally in 2023. They did get 4 of the top 5 in the state, which I think is important when you're in a state with Clemson, who's ruled that state for 10 years. Georgia got the number 1 player, so Clemson didn't get any of the top 5 in the state of South Carolina. But South Carolina got 4 of them. And in this year's signing class, which is incomplete, they're 18th in the country, and they've got 4 of the top 5 in the state of South Carolina committed. So it feels like there is some momentum behind Shane Beamer. I know some people don't love Shane Beamer. He does the videos. They do the Office parody, and that's fine if you don't. I like him. I think he's engaging. I think he's charismatic. I think he means well. I don't have any problem with Shane Beamer at all. But I think they're going to have to prove it this year that they're moving in the right direction. I'm not just going to go off 2 weeks because they lost the bowl game to Notre Dame anyway, which, like I just said, we're not going to put a lot of stock in that. But you're looking at those 2 games as the season definer and not the 10 before. Spencer Rattler's back. They have their number 1 wide receiver, Juice Wells, back. Their starting left tackle, unfortunately, got hurt badly in the spring game, and he's going to miss the first part of the season. They brought in a new offensive coordinator. His name's Dowell Loggins. He came from Arkansas. He's a guy who coached in the NFL. He coached Connor Shaw. He coached Alshon Jeffrey, both those guys at the Bears. And they called Shane Beamer and said, hey, this is the guy you need to hire. And he did. So we'll see how that goes. On the defense, they got gashed last year. I mean, listen to these rushing totals they gave up last year. South Carolina gave up 295 to Arkansas, gave up 226 to Vanderbilt, gave up 374 to Florida. Clemson ran for 237. Notre Dame and Logan Diggs ran for 265. And most of that front seven that was getting gashed is gone. Their schedule is interesting at the start. They open up with Drake May in North Carolina. That game's in Charlotte. They get a good West draw. They got Mississippi State coming to Columbia, which is about as good as you can do. They're at Georgia. They're at Tennessee. Those two teams in the East are going to make their life tough. But their home SEC games are vital. This is what I talked about with with Arkansas yesterday. South Carolina, if they want to have a good season, if they want to win 8 or 9 games, they're going to have to win their SEC home games. It's Mississippi State. It's Florida, who's not expected to be great. It's Vanderbilt. It's Kentucky. If somehow South Carolina can defend Williams-Brice Stadium, can go 4-0 at home, maybe pick off North Carolina, get your non-conference wins, and see what you can do against Clemson, they can win 8 or 9 games. If you can't beat North Carolina and you trip up twice at home because you can't beat Kentucky and Mississippi State, then you know you're not going to beat Georgia, and I don't think you're going to beat Tennessee on the road. Now all of a sudden you're drifting towards 6-6. And all that juice you had from winning those last 2 games against Tennessee and Clemson seems like fool's gold. Every season's independent of one another, but when you're fighting for survival like South Carolina is, you gotta continue to build. And they set a really strong building block at the end of November last year that was noteworthy. The eyes of the country were watching. They were the game of the week a couple weeks in a row and did a great job. But now it's a whole new ball game, literally. And you got your quarterback who you're rarely going to get a talent like that. I mean, the number 1 quarterback in the country doesn't generally go to South Carolina. But he went to Oklahoma. They had the situation with Caleb Williams and Lincoln. He becomes available because Shane Beamer coached him at Oklahoma. He shows up in South Carolina. This may be a year where you need to sock some wins away. And if you do, people will take Shane Beamer in South Carolina seriously. If you don't, I'm going to have a hard time doing it. You go 6-6, the videos and the parodies you do of The Office aren't quite as funny. You win 9 games, you show you might be trending towards a path that Lou Holtz finally showed was viable and Steve Spurrier brought to the highest level that the program's ever seen. Will Muschamp couldn't do it. We'll see if Shane Beamer can. And that starts with a big one, the opening weekend against North Carolina in Charlotte. So that's 13 of the 14 SEC teams that have taken the stage. We got one more to do, and that's Tennessee. We'll take care of that at the beginning of hour number 2. I hope to get the predicted order of finish here shortly if we haven't gotten it already. Got some Saints to do in the second hour as well. But when we come back, I'm going to get into some summer ball stats from LSU baseball. We'll briefly touch on that. Some guys who are going out and getting some at-bats that maybe didn't get those late in the season. And we'll kind of talk about what those roles may be. Plus an update on LSU baseball recruiting. They hosted a big visitor yesterday. All that's coming up at the end of hour number 1 here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. If you go to OneBathAndClosets.com, you'll see all the tabs there, right there up top. One of them is get a free consultation. Let David Duvall and his team come in and talk to you about what they can do. You can see it on the website as well. They've got pictures of their great work. Full-scale bathroom renovation is right up their alley. They can do from the floors to the plumbing to the shower. It's soup to nuts. They do the entire thing. You call one contractor, David Duvall, One Bath and Closets, they handle it. Maybe it's something simple, like a tub-to-shower conversion. You don't use your bathtub anymore. You're not like the Palmers. You don't have Myers Man splashing everywhere in the bathtub, trying to put his body at risk every single night because you don't take baths. We'll take the bathtub out. Put a shower in. They can do that at One Bath and Closets. Go to the website. Check out their reviews. Check out their great work. It's at OneBathAndClosets.com. OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
This summer, retirement is a state of mind. Whether it's a mid-morning activity or an early bird special. Grab a Coors Light and chill like you're retired.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour
for a Friday edition of Off the Bench. T-Bob and Hester are back in the studio, and we get ready for the weekend. Plus, we give a full recap of SEC Media Days and look ahead to the football season. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Let's quickly take you across the pond and get some scores from the British Open. If you're over here, they don't like when you say that, so we'll call it the Open Championship. Don't want to ruffle any feathers across the pond there at Liverpool. But Amateur is tied atop the lead. Christo Lamprecht from South Africa. He is Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket. Shot a 5 under 66 today. He is tied atop the leaderboard with Tommy Fleetwood. Home game for Tommy Ladd from England, like 30 miles away from Hoylake where they're playing this. He also shot 5 under. Emiliano Grillo, also 5 under on his round. All those guys 66 and in the clubhouse. Stuart Sink, a solid round of 3 under today. Wyndham Clark, the U.S. Open champion, shot 3 under as well. Jordan Spieth made bogey on his final hole of the day to shoot a 2 under 69, so he is just 3 shots back of the lead. Sure update there from the Open. All right, some quick thoughts on baseball as we wrap things up. I'll get you a recruiting update here at the end here. But I want to talk about some guys who are on the roster currently that are playing this summer. I'm not going to get to all of them, not even close to all of them. But just some of the guys that are noteworthy, I think, as guys that LSU is going to need to step up. You start to realize, that you start to look at the roster, you're not going to have Trey Morgan, not going to have Gavin Dugas, not going to have Jordan Thompson, not going to have Braden Jobert. Not going to have Dylan Cruz. I mean, there are a lot of guys below that were contributing majorly up in Omaha that aren't going to be there. So some of the younger guys who have played are going to have to step up for this team. A guy who's really having a nice summer, and it's not a huge sample size. LSU was late to summer ball because they played all the way through June, so you're not going to get any of these guys playing 41 games in the summer. But Josh Pearson in Cape Cod, which is the best league in the summer, is hitting 342 through 11 games. He's got 4 doubles. He's got 2 homers. So 6 extra base hits in 11 games with a 300-plus batting average, 342 to be exact, is really solid. And that's good to see from Josh because kind of his nosedive happened last year in the summer. He went off to play in summer ball and just wasn't hitting. And then he came back in the fall and he wasn't hitting. And then he came back in the spring and he wasn't hitting. And he found it a little bit. Hit a couple home runs in Omaha, and we had Josh on the show a couple weeks ago before he headed up to the Cape. And he said, I just wasn't swinging the bat well. And hopefully it's coming back a little bit for Pearson because you'd really like for him to be a top-of-the-order type of bat next year. I think you look at him, you look at Mac Bingham, who we're planning on having the show tomorrow. Those two guys feel like top-of-the-order guys with Tommy White. And then you see what young freshmen, sophomores to be can step up and plug the middle of the order. And a couple of those guys you're looking at to do that would be Paxton Kling, would be Jared Jones. And those two guys are in the Cape as well. And it's been a rough go for them in the summer. Paxton Kling, just 5 for 27 on the summer. That's a 185 average. He's got 1 home run. Jared Jones has struggled to make contact as he did late in the season. Jared Jones, 4 for 25 up there in the Cape with 13 strikeouts and 25 at-bats. So that's a bumpy go for both of those guys who LSU is going to need. It's not just as simple as Jared Jones can't hit a curveball, but that's a big thing for him. And I don't know if it's pitch recognition. I don't know if it's just inability to get the bat where it needs to be on those breaking balls. I don't know if it's guessing, but there's something they've got to work on with breaking balls there, and I'm sure that they'll do it. And Kling's a real talent, and he was starting to figure it out before he got hurt against Tulane. And I certainly expected him to have a bigger freshman year than he did, but that doesn't mean that the talent's gone. And hopefully something clicks for him either later this summer or in the fall. Ethan Fry is the other guy that I wanted to track down. He's playing in the Northwoods League, so pretty much the second best league for collegiate summer ball. And I think his numbers are pretty good. It's not a huge sample size again. He's hitting 258, which doesn't jump off the page, but in 8 games, he's got 10 walks. That, to me, is very good. He's a big, strong, powerful young man, and he's taking pitches, which I think is very good. He's got a home run as well. So, look, those 4 guys, in my opinion, are going to be leaned on next year. Like, you've got some other guys. You've got Brady Neal, who got a couple of big hits early and then shut it down for the summer. You've got Travinsky coming back. But those guys are going to need to elevate their games to be a championship-level team, and hopefully they can do that. The recruiting side of things here is that LSU welcomed Luke Holman to campus yesterday. He is the right-hander from Alabama. By now you probably know the story. He's the guy that got scratched from the game when the Alabama coach, Brad Bohannon, got fired for betting against his team because he told the guy betting $100,000 in Ohio that, hey, Holman's not pitching. Well, he had a nice year. Was pretty good down the stretch, and LSU is very much interested. He would be a really nice right-handed add to this staff, which they need. You've got Hurd, and you've probably got Guidry. I think he's going to pitch. So those are your 2 main righties, but you look at the amount of lefties that you've got with Herron and Ackenhausen, and you bring in Lohr, and you got Bronzini and Primo, and you bring in Cam Johnson in this class as well as Anderson, and you've got Brown. You've got a ton of left-handers. You don't have as many right-handers, and Holman would fill in there. And I think if Holman does commit to LSU, he would be very much in line for a Saturday or Sunday slot in the weekend rotation, in my opinion. Luke Holman's one of those guys, and I've said this before, this is a repeat, but if he's your Friday night guy, your staff's probably not good enough. If he's your Sunday guy, you might have a really good staff. That's kind of where I see Luke Holman. And best I can tell, LSU feels like it's in a really, really good spot. I know this sounds conceited. It sounds like recency bias. It sounds like a lot. But I believe it. Like, why wouldn't you play at LSU? Why wouldn't you play at the Box for a team that just won the national championship? Why wouldn't you play for the most passionate fan base in college baseball? Why wouldn't you play at a school that's got the pitching lab and brought in a new pitching coach, has NIL opportunities, is the biggest brand going right now? Mississippi State's probably a great place to play baseball. It is. They got a wonderful facility, passionate fans. They've also been terrible 2 years in a row, and you live in Starkville. So I would lean purple and gold, but that's a very biased take, and I'm well aware of it, but willing to own it. That's it for hour number 1 here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Open things up, talking LSU running back situation, talked Ole Miss, talked South Carolina, talked baseball with some Summer League stats and recruiting. If you missed any of it, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab. All our shows are there each and every day. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on Google, anywhere you find your podcasts, we're there. We're also on YouTube every single day as well. Appreciate those of you in the Bayou Ford chat. Throw us a like if you would. In hour number 2, we got some Saints to talk about. We got some SEC Media Days to talk about. And then after SportsCenter, we're going to talk about the Tennessee Vols. What's in store post-Hendon Hooker? I've got my thoughts. Come back with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco says he'll be ready to go for the season opener against the Lions. Pacheco is coming back from shoulder and hand injuries after leading the team in rushing as a rookie. That opener for the Super Bowl champs is 7 weeks from tonight. At SEC Media Days today in Nashville, Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin with some sharp words about the state of college football.
Just like when everybody was like, oh, we got this NIL, it's great. And then, in this portal, it's great. Oh, whoa. And I'm not saying I was the only one saying it. I'm like, whoa, this is a disaster coming because you just legalized cheating. And you just told donors they can pay the players.
Kiffin says the college landscape is now professional sports without a salary cap or a luxury tax. Late in the first round of the Open Championship at Royal Liverpool, a three-way tie for the lead at 5 under, England's Tommy Fleetwood, Argentina's Emiliano Grillo, and Georgia Tech's Christo Lamprecht from South Africa.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. Fortunately, Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. It's a good thing, too, because having a home is hard work. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. Geico.com. Easy.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Thursday edition, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Appreciate you hanging out with us. One more hour to go. Talk some SEC football. Here to start, we're going to get to the Saints as well. Some not so good news for the Saints coming up at the bottom of this hour. But I want to start the hour with the final SEC team that we need to talk about. We have done 13 of the 14 teams, everyone who has taken to the podium at Media Days, and the last will be the Tennessee Volunteers. I've spent 15 years pulling for the Volunteers because they've been the crossover rival of Alabama, and they have lost every single year. We're fighting with Florida tooth and nail. We've already got to play Alabama. That's how you find your way to Atlanta. That's how you find your way to all the goals. If at any point the Vols could help us out and win a game against Alabama, it would just be awesome. And for 15 years, we sat there and got a whole bunch of nothing. You got Terrence Cody blocking kicks. You got Derek Dooley wearing yellow-orange pants. You got Butch Jones dunking in trash cans. You got a lot of bad. And finally last year, we got the good. And what did it allow us to do? It allowed us to go to College Station and play like a bunch of fourth graders and still get to the SEC championship game. Thank you to the Vols for that. It has been 15 years. But how do they follow it up? This is the last year I have to pull for them, and then we just kind of venture on into one conference and everything changes. But I'll be pulling for them this year when they play Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Last year, the Vols were 8-0. They were the toast of college football. Hendon Hooker was probably the leading candidate to win the Heisman Trophy. It was awesome. And then they went to Athens and got blitzed. It was 27-6 after 3 quarters. And entering that game, Tennessee was averaging 49.3 points per game. And Georgia shut them down. And then 2 weeks later, a defense that had been a little shoddy over the course of 3 months finally just buckled against South Carolina. They gave up 606 yards. They gave up 63 points, and Hendon Hooker got hurt. And that was the end of the magic ride for Tennessee. It was their first 10-win year since 2007. They had kind of reestablished themselves as a relevant piece to the college football puzzle. Jalen Hyatt moves on. Cedric Tillman moves on. Hendon Hooker, we know, moves on. So the question now becomes, how much of last year was Josh Heupel and that program and his system and his culture and a lot of his guys, and how much of it was Hendon Hooker being awesome? We'll find out. Joe Milton played in the Orange Bowl against Clemson. Had a pair of backup quarterbacks going that day. Cade Klubnik went for Clemson. And in that game, Joe Milton was 19 out of 28 for 251 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did not throw a pick. Now, the Joe Milton I saw to start the season in 2021 was not good. I'm watching Tennessee play Pitt in Knoxville early, and I'm not exaggerating. He overthrew 3 wide-open touchdowns in the first quarter. Like, just not even close. Guys, it could have been Hyatt, Tillman, I don't know who it was, doesn't matter. Running free, and Joe Milton couldn't hit him. And he eventually ceded his job to Hendon Hooker, who kept it for a year and a half. And now it's back to Milton. He's got Jamarcus Russell level arm talent. That's the comp. He's huge, and he throws it a mile. But that doesn't get you anything if you can't be decisive, you can't be accurate, you can't be on time. And he was against Clemson. And this system helps. He's got Jabari Small back as a running back, got Jalen Wright back as a running back, got Dylan Simpson back as a running back. You get Brew McCoy, who's probably their number 1 receiver coming into this year. And there are some weapons. And I think Heupel's system does work, and I think they'll score points. He's done that just about everywhere. I don't know if Mizzou was a juggernaut, but he's scored a lot of points. The biggest complaint about the Tennessee defense last year was that the secondary was unathletic, and that got exposed against South Carolina when you let Spencer Rattler throw for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. That's not covering. So, can they fix that? This goes back to what I was talking about earlier in the show with Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. Can you pair an elite-level offense, an elite-level play caller, with a good defense? I'm not asking you to be the 2011 Bama defense. I'm not asking you to be the 2011 LSU defense. I'm not asking you to be the 03 LSU defense or the 01 Miami defense. I'm asking you to be good. I'm asking you to be better than average, but I'm asking you to be good. Can you do that? Well, it never happened for Kevin Sumlin at A&M. It hasn't happened yet for Lincoln Riley. Neither one of those guys put a good defense on the field. Can Kiffin, and in this case, can Josh Heupel do that? It remains to be seen. There are some people that would say, if you go this fast and you run this tempo and you play at this speed, you're hampering your defense to the point where they're not going to be able to hold up. That's where I'm going to take a step back personally and go, I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I don't call defenses. I can't diagnose issues in defenses. I'm not the guy who can identify the bust. That's above my pay grade in the football world. I don't know if it's possible. LSU went pretty fast in 2019, and by the end of the year, that defense was playing really well. Tua had some pretty good defenses as they were rolling. So I think it's possible. Now, Heupel is probably the fastest tempo offense in the sport. That's as far as I can tell. Chip Kelly kind of invented this, and Heupel's that quick. I mean, if you were at the game last year in Tiger Stadium, you got a sense for how fast they're going. It's something to see. And God bless Georgia for holding them to 6 points through the first 3 quarters of that game. That's a hell of a defensive effort. But it was jarring to watch those guys. I've seen Kiffin's up-tempo in Tiger Stadium. I've seen teams try to go fast. I've never seen them go that fast. So I think they'll be good on offense. The question is, can they get the defense together? The schedule, they open with Virginia and Nashville. That ought to be a pretty heavily pro-Vols crowd, and I think they'll take care of that game. The crossover is okay. It's A&M coming to Knoxville. Come on, Vols. I'll put my orange on if I need it. I'll sing Rocky Top. I'll hang out with Smokey. Join the Vol Navy. I'll go down to Calhoun's. I'll do whatever you need to get that done. But that's who the Vols get as the crossover. And the big game on the schedule is Georgia coming to Knoxville the week before Thanksgiving. It's November the 18th. It's late in the season. They play Bama early, Georgia late. Bama will have revenge on their mind. It'll be in Tuscaloosa. We'll see how that goes. But the game for the East, if Tennessee can keep it between the buoys and win their games they're supposed to, is Georgia coming to Knoxville. And that feels like it's going to be a huge game. And when we talked about Georgia earlier in the week on Monday, I said, look, I can see a situation where Georgia could theoretically lose that game, go 11-1, not even make it to Atlanta, and maybe get in. Heather Dinich was talking about that on Feinbaum yesterday, saying that's no sure thing. Bama didn't get in last year, and, well, they were 2 losses. But it's curious. I think the Vols are the second-best team in the East. I think they'll be picked as the second-best team in the East. I think that Joe Milton's got to show me something. But I'm hopeful they can handle the Aggies when that time comes on the Tennessee River. That's it. We've gone through every single team in the Southeastern Conference, all 14 of them, as SEC Media Day is coming to a close up there in Nashville. We got one more show coming to you. It'll be after further review this afternoon. Matt's actually going to be back in this chair tomorrow afternoon. I'm not sure if they fly back tonight or earlier tomorrow, but Matt will be in the chair doing AFR. But one more time from Radio Road this afternoon, coming up 50 minutes from right now. Our coverage from Nashville all week long, brought to you by our friends at Hudco Roofing, brought to you by our friends at Rev Business, brought to you by our friends at Relief Windows. Take a time out. Come back with some Saints talk. That's next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Corey Barr, a champion of Louisiana. I've been telling you about Corey for better than a month now. Corey is a chef, and he's got national acclaim for his culinary work. Beat Bobby Flay, Food Network star. He's been all over the place, but he comes back home. That's why he operates his 3 businesses out of Monroe. It means a lot to him. He's a Louisianan at heart, and this is where he always wants to stay. It makes him a champion of our great state. If you know one, a nonprofit, a business, a person like Corey Barr, we want to tell their story. LWCC lets us. Go to lwcc.com/champions. Look at the past champions that we've talked about for the last year and a half and nominate a champion of Louisiana. Corey Barr is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Rev Business started small in 1935. We built our reputation by providing hometown service with Louisiana hustle. For nearly 90 years, we've expanded across our great state, through the swamps and across the Mississippi, bringing fiber optics from the capital to the North Shore and down the bayou to the coast, all to connect your business with the world. Rev is about big business technology with small business personal service, powerful solutions, unmatched local service. Rev Business.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. LeafWindows.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to
Hannegriff, join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. The predictions from SEC Media Days are out, plus Bruce Marshall and Troy Macker stop by. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
If you've listened to me talk about the New Orleans Saints since the Derek Carr signing, you know my feelings on what signal that sent to the organization. In my eyes, that means absolutely zero rebuild, reboot, restart, none of that. That's go win now. And that's the feeling that I've had. And I think the Saints are in position to win their division now. I think a lot of people feel that way because most feel Tampa is going to be awful. No one knows what to think about Desmond Ridder in Atlanta. And what does a rookie quarterback look like in Carolina with admittedly some pretty high-end free agent signings by the Panthers? Saints are the most stable franchise right now entering 2023. But that's not the point of this discussion. There's an article on ESPN today from multiple contributors that attempts to look at the next 3 years of NFL franchises and how the franchises look to perform. Dan Graziano, Louis Riddick, and Seth Walder went through this exercise, looking at teams' roster, looking at their quarterback, looking at the front office and the head coach, and tried to paint a picture of what franchises were set up the best over 3 years. And I thought that was interesting. So they give a scale. If it's 100, it's an A+, that's elite. If it's a 90, it's great, it's an A. An 80 is a B, a 70 is a C, a 60 is a D, and 50 and below are Fs. And they graded all the aspects of all the organizations by these categories: the roster, currently, the quarterback, how they perform in the draft, the front office, and coaching. And then they took those objective numbers, once they were compiled, they're subjective in how they get to be, but they're quantified at the end, and they ranked the teams in the NFL, 1 to 32. And they said the team in the best shape was the Philadelphia Eagles. Their overall score was 94%. They think they've got the best roster in the NFL, the best front office in the NFL, second best in the draft, number 4 at quarterback, and 7th in coaching. Everything in the top 7, a couple of number 1s. That is as good a setup as there is in the NFL. The Chiefs are there at 2, the Bengals at 3. Incidentally, they rank Joe as the second best quarterback in the NFL. They've got Mahomes at 1. They've got the Chiefs as the best coach in the NFL. The Bengals, all theirs are in the top 7. So what about the Saints? Like, what does What does this look like for the Saints? And the answer is a little jarring, to me, at least. We'll see what you think. But you have got to scroll all the way down to number 28. Sorry, number 25 to find the New Orleans Saints. They say 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. They say there's only 7 teams in worse shape over the next 3 years than the New Orleans Saints. Why do they say that? Well, they say that the Saints have the second worst coaching in the NFL. Just not a lot of confidence in Dennis Allen. It didn't go well in Oakland. It didn't go well last year. I don't know that that's unfair. They say that the roster right now, overall, minus the quarterback, is 19th. I think it's a little bit better than that currently. But at quarterback, they got Derek Carr at the 20th best quarterback in the NFL. He's not in the top 7, but I think he's in the top 15. But they've got him at 20. How do they perform in the draft? They've got him at 28. I can't say that I monitor Buffalo's draft or Seattle's draft all that closely. I think you know that about me at this point, but I feel like the Saints have had some pretty good success in the draft. And this is the next one that I've got real beef with. In terms of the front office, they've got him at 28. I think that's harsh. You're essentially saying that Peyton and Breeze are responsible for this entire thing. And while that's not an outlandish thing to say, I do want to give Mickey Loomis and Jeff Ireland and Kai Harley some credit. I would say that since they brought in Ireland, the drafting's been really strong. I would say there's probably no one in the league I would rather have with the pencil in his hand than Kai Harley. And Loomis he brought in Sean Payton. Like, he's been there for this whole thing. So I have a hard time saying that Jacksonville, Arizona, Cleveland have better front offices than the Saints. Like, I think the Saints have a good front office. You want to rank Dennis Allen at 31, saying there's only one spot worse than him in the league. Like, I'm not going to fight you on that. He's got to prove that wrong this year, or it'll be over, and it'll be proven right. And I think the roster's a little bit better than 19th. And I think the quarterback's a little better than 20th. I think the front office is a lot better than 28th. But again, they give reason for concern. I'm watching Dennis Allen-led coaching staff that includes offensive coordinator Pete Carmichael, defensive coordinator Joe Woods. Can this group get the best out of Carr and get him in sync with Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and form a legit explosive offense? Can they get continued championship caliber football out of the defense? Yeah, that's what we think, but this is a little harsh to me. Now, you start to move forward in 3 years, I think, okay, now we're really talking about that, because Cam Jordan will be on the back end of his career. Demario Davis will be on the back end of his career, if not done in 3 years. Tyrann Mathieu, same deal. Michael Thomas, same deal. Alvin Kamara, as far as a running back shelf life, same deal. What comes of the interior offensive line? Do we know Trevor Penning is that dude at left tackle? Those questions are pretty answerable in the short term. They become increasingly negative as we stretch. And that's why it's time to make it happen this year. And these guys right, Dan Graziano writes, the reason for hope. The overall roster, especially on defense, looks strong. The division in which the Saints play does not. Derek Carr should provide an upgrade over what they had last year at quarterback. Michael Thomas says he's feeling better and planning to be back from injuries. So there's evidence that a bounce-back year in New Orleans could be in the cards. And then they give a stat to know. Even more than his 1,000-yard rookie season led on, Olave is the future. His 82 open score last year, which I don't even know what that means, ranked 8. I guess that's how often you get open among all wide receivers, and it put him in between Stephon Diggs and Justin Jefferson, a clear sign of a potential superstar and a franchise building block in the making. I always enjoy those stats that they pull out, even though I'm telling you I don't know what that one is exactly. Basically says he gets open a lot is what I'm thinking, and it's one that I can't look up. Like, I can't go figure out how often he got open. I guess I could go back and pull every single game on YouTube and chart every route. Probably not going to do that. But the only franchises that they have listed worse than the Saints in terms of this 3-year outlook is the Colts at 26, the Commanders at 27, the Rams at 28, which is interesting. They pushed their chips. They got their Super Bowl. I think it was worth it. The Texans at 29, the Raiders at 29, the Bucs at 31. They pushed their chips. They got their Super Bowl. It was worth it. And the Cardinals at 32. That's a little bit sobering from the outside to hear that. But again, as I go back to my original point, like, it's not totally out of the question. So that puts more importance on this year. I'm going to try to talk myself into the Saints over the next month. I'm going to try to work myself into this could work. And I think the guiding light for that is the second sentence in the reason for optimism. The division's so bad that all I got to do is go, okay, well, you're going to be better than Tampa. That's fine. Should be better than Atlanta. Okay. And Carolina's got a rookie quarterback. That's not going to work. All right. And that's a quick discussion to have. But then you better cash in the playoffs and have some fun and advance a couple of rounds, because if you don't, it just doesn't look as strong moving forward. But I will push back on a couple of those rankings. There's just no way the front office is that far down the list. And I just think the quarterback's getting a little bit shortchanged there at 20. But that's a situation that the Saints have put themselves in. So a lot more black and gold talk coming up when I get back from vacation. I'm out next week. When I get back on the following Monday, what's the date of that? I can look that up. So today's the 20th. When I get back on the 31st, Saints are in camp and LSU reports the next day. So that's exciting. And we've made it to football season, which is a very, very good thing. Got one more SEC Media Days segment to do coming up next. We'll hear some sound from some of the SEC coaches that hit the podium yesterday and today. Try to get the all SEC teams in predicted order of finish. I thought those would be out by now, but they haven't quite come out just yet. If they do, we'll let you know. But we got 30 minutes left to go here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Our final day from Radio Row, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Tennessee take the big stage. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I'm going to give you my predicted order of finish in the Southeastern Conference, both divisions here at the end of this segment. But I want to start with some sound from Billy Napier on the Florida Gators. Of course, LSU and Florida will play each other once again this year's permanent opponents. They'll play again the following year. And I think there are still a lot of you that are fixated on the Napier-Kelly thing. I couldn't possibly care any less about the comparisons thing. I just want LSU to win. Florida wins at the same time. That's part of it. If they lose, whatever. I just want LSU to do well. Don't really care what goes on in Florida unless they're playing us. So Billy Napier was talking about transitioning to the SEC. He comes from the Sun Belt, and I was candid. Like, that's the guy I thought should be the guy at the beginning. Now, I was excited about Lincoln Riley, and I think that Brian Kelly was an excellent hire by Scott Woodward. But right out of the chute, like, I kind of thought Napier was going to be the guy, and he had a first-round quarterback last year, and things didn't go very well. They didn't go very well at all. And so Napier talked about the transition to the SEC.
I think there's 3 variables that were really a big adjustment. There's no question the pace of recruiting. You know, this was my first time at the Power 5 level with early signing period and how that has affected the recruiting calendar, right? The workflow, the evaluation process, the recruitment process. So there's definitely been an adjustment. I think year 1 to year 2, we've made really good improvements in that area. I also think that heck of a year to take over a program, right, with the portal and the NIL coming to the forefront. Those were challenging, right? In particular, you're trying to establish trust in a really short amount of time, and those create a dynamic on your team that can be a challenge, right? So I think we've come up with really good systems to attack those areas, and I'm pleased with the progress that we're making.
I think you get more candid responses in July than you do in October. Hugh Freeze going up to the podium yesterday and saying, you know, I thought I was one of the best play callers, but I didn't really think I was at Liberty. I don't think he says that in week 7. And I don't think Billy Napier comes to the podium after getting beat by Kentucky this coming year and admits some sort of significant shortcoming. I think once you're in the season, like, you're just going. And for him to sit up there and go, yeah, I got sped up in recruiting. Like, I didn't know what I was in for there. And then the NIL stuff was a challenge for us. Like, we didn't know, we weren't positioned for that. Like, that's some humility. That's some admittance of fault, which I don't think you get a ton of in season. And you may get it a little more candidly in July, which I thought was really, really interesting. So, Casey, I'm going to switch it up on you here, and let's go to Napier 5 here, because that's actually talking about the same things that he was going after and where Florida is now with the NIL situation.
Well, I mean, we've learned a lot. I think every head coach would tell you that. You know, we kind of walked into an unprecedented time in college football, and there was no manual for it, right? So, and listen, this thing continues to change. There's a number of variables that contribute to that, but I can tell you at the University of Florida, I'm very pleased with where we're at. We've benefited from a group called Florida Victorious who has great leadership. I think the state laws have allowed us to go down a better path. I think we're benefiting from that, but we've got great leadership. Again, we're in a state with 22 million people. There's strength in numbers relative to NIL, and I think we've created some great opportunities through this organization that is doing NIL, I think, with class and integrity. They've got a very established process, and I think our players have benefited, and it's helping the Gators. There's no question about it.
I'm tickled by some of these NIL answers, because you have to frame it the way that Billy Napier did. Said, we've got a Gator collective that's got a lot of people, which in turn means they've got a lot of money, and it's helping the Gators. And you say that they're doing it with class and integrity, and I would probably lean more on the Lane Kiffin side of it's just pay for play. And I certainly believe that there are players at the University of Florida, at the University of Tennessee, at Southern Cal, in Baton Rouge. I think there are players at all those programs who have gotten to campus, have done some great things in their respective sports, won championships, set records, made big plays, highlight real things, and because of that have grown their name, their image, and have capitalized on that through NIL. But I think what coaches are saying without saying it, when they're talking about NIL and how things are helping, it's in recruiting. I'm not blind to that. You've heard coaches go to the mic and say, yeah, NIL is important. And we hear about it in living rooms. What's the NIL situation? And you can always go back and say, well, we told them if you go play at Florida and the Gator Collective, they are set up to financially compensate our student athletes. What the actual conversation is at times is, okay, how much money can you give me? But of course, that's in direct conflict with the rule that's in place that says, hey, you cannot entice student athletes to attend your school with NIL money. And let me be clear, this is not a Florida conversation. This is not a Billy Napier conversation. This is just the situation that is upon itself in college sports, and Napier happened to be the SEC coach that was talking about this in the bite that we're saying. I'm talking about coaches as a whole that are saying we've got to have NIL together, and I believe that it's just because of recruiting. And Kiffin went the other way today, which we don't have that sound, but I can tell you what he said. He said, look, teams are just out there saying this is what we can offer you in recruiting, and that's a disaster, and they're cheating. That's what he said. And I heard Charlie show live at lunch earlier, and he said it's not cheating. And I think me and Charlie differ a little bit on the use of that word. Technically, you're not supposed to do that in recruiting. So that would be against the rules, and if you want to term it cheating. Charlie says it's not cheating. I see you can connect those dots pretty quick. But what I'm saying is I'm sitting back here going, this is the rules. This is what you got to do anyway. And you're not going to offend me by doing it. So I'm not calling anybody a cheater. I just say, look, go build your team. And to go back to the initial point, I get a little tickled when I hear coaches talking about how, great the NIL structure is and all this stuff when they never say, because we need it in recruiting, we got to get the players. But they don't say that. It's a little disingenuous, I think. Not a Napier thing. This is all the coaches in all the sports. I just think it's just the wild, wild west now. He who has the gold makes the rules and gets the players. And the last one talking about players is Billy Napier yesterday talking about his quarterback battle. I broke down Graham Mertz and kind of what I thought of him back yesterday. We'll hear what Napier thinks.
I've been very impressed with Graham. Graham's a 32-start player. He's played over 2,000 snaps at a really established program in Wisconsin. We went through an extensive process to make that decision. I think Graham's an accomplished player, but more importantly, I've been impressed with the person, the leader. This guy has an incredible motor and work ethic. He is in the building, and he is fanatical about his preparation. So I think that has helped the competition. I think it's caused Jack to respond. Jack's had an incredible offseason, and we've been really pleased with a young player, Max Brown. He's had a good summer. He's impressed the staff, and he's impressed his teammates. So we're excited about that competition. It'll go into training camp, and we'll make a decision when we see fit for the team.
My read on Florida's quarterback situation is Mertz is going to be the guy, and it's going to really be the opposite of Anthony Richardson, because Anthony Richardson has every skill he could possibly have, and he's capable of busting off an 80-yard touchdown against LSU and playing an incredible highlight riddle game with Tennessee and giving you electric moments and incredible productivity and scoring a bunch of points. He's also capable of having just total duds, which he did last year a couple times. It's up and down with Richardson because of the talent level and at times the inefficiency and ineffectiveness. I think Mertz is just going to be the same average dude every week. Not going to wow you with highlights. Probably not going to throw 13 interceptions. Probably not going to throw over 380 yards. Just baseline. And I think that's not exactly the situation that Florida would like to be in. But that's my read on it. We'll see. All right, I wanted to give you my predicted order of finish in the SEC to kind of put a button on SEC Media Days as they're about to do that up in Nashville. Still kind of cycling through. Tennessee is last up, and I think they're just about done up there. So that'll no doubt have some interviews and some content here coming up in 20 minutes on AFR. But he'll also, during his show, get the all-SEC teams and the predicted order of finish and the predicted champion. I'll give you mine and how I would have voted it without a ton of explanation because I've talked about all these teams all week. We'll start with the East, and then we'll get to the West. The East, I've obviously got Georgia winning it. I'm not going to get cute. I'm not going to try to be the smartest guy in the room. I don't know who their quarterback's going to be. I don't think it's going to be as good as Stetson Bennett, but the amount of talent that Kirby has brought in on that roster is just superior to everyone else in that division, and I think that they will take care of their business in the SEC East. I think they'll go undefeated. I do have Tennessee at 2. I'm going to buy in to Josh Heupel and kind of sell the rest of the division at the same time. I'm not, huge on Kentucky or huge on Beamer taking the next step. I'm not big on Napier with Graham Mertz taking a huge step. Obviously, don't love Missouri or Vanderbilt. So I'm betting on Tennessee to be the best of the rest. And I think that they'll have a good year, and I think that they've got the right guy at the coach because I think his system is going to work. I think they're going to recruit quarterbacks. They've got a 5-star freshman in this class, and I think they're going to be steady. They finally got the right guy. It just took them 20 years. I don't love anybody at the next spot. I think there's a gap between Tennessee and the rest, as I was just explaining. So I'm going to throw Kentucky in there based on the fact that I think I underestimated what Devin Leary was 2 years ago at NC State. I mean, 35 touchdowns to 5 picks is impressive, and he tore the pectoral last year, missed a bunch of games, so the statistics weren't replicated, but that talent's pretty good, and I'm gonna go with that. South Carolina to me is next. I like the fact they draw Mississippi State. I like the fact they've got an older quarterback. I know he wasn't great outside of 2 games last year, but he does have a lot of talent, and I'll go South Carolina at 4. I think that's about a 500 league team. That's where you're going to come in right there. I will take Florida at 5. That's not where they want to be. I don't trust Graham Mertz, and I don't know that I love their ability to throw the ball this year. I mean, they got Pearsall out there. What else? I'm not really sure. I think they're going to be a heavy run team with a pretty talented defense that should be better than it was last year. So I got Florida at 5, Missouri at 6, and I've got Vanderbilt at 7. I know that Vanderbilt won a couple league games last year, but that's just a hard spot. I don't know what to tell you. It's just hard. And for me to pull them out of the last spot again, I think would be kind of trying to be the smartest guy in the room. I'm not. So in the East, I got Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina, Florida, Missouri, and then Vanderbilt. And then we go to the West. It comes down to the game in Tuscaloosa. It just does. And if LSU's unable to win at Alabama, they're going to have to win the rest of them to win the West. You're not going to win it with 2 losses in a loss to Alabama because Bama's not going to lose 3 times. That said, I will take LSU to win that game in Tuscaloosa. I will take LSU to win the West. I think they lose another one somewhere along the line, but I think that's good enough. So I'll take LSU at first. I'll take Bama at second. Bama could lose 2 times. And that may get LSU into the conference championship game with 2 losses as long as they beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Bama was on the ropes last year 4 times when they won. And they don't have the Heisman winner from 2 years ago back. So I'm kind of buying this. Bama's not what they once were. I'm not saying they can't get right back there at some point. I just don't know that I'm going to trust Tyler Buckner to get them there. So I got LSU first, Bama second. I am going to take A&M third. That's a lot of talent. It's a lot of talent at wide receiver. It's a lot of talent at D-line. It's a lot of talent at safety. And I think the quarterback's pretty good. So I'll take A&M third. I'm going to go with Ole Miss fourth. I'm going to just trust Kiffin to score a bunch of points. That's probably a little aggressive because they fell apart last year. And we'll see what Pete Golding can do with the defense, but I'll take Ole Miss fourth. I'll take Arkansas fifth. Good quarterback. I like KJ. I don't think they'll be over a 500 team in league play, but I like them at fifth. I'll take State at sixth. Will Rogers should be a good defense with 8 starters back, and Arnett and his former linebackers coach sticking with the same system. Just a matter of how quickly the offense can gel. And I don't love the fact that they go to Knoxville, but it is what it is. And at seventh, I think Hugh Freeze inherited a disaster. And they brought in an average quarterback from the Big Ten with an average to below average roster, and I just don't think year one's going to be kind to him. You got to play Georgia. You got to play Bama. You got to play LSU. You got to play A&M. They do get Vanderbilt, but I got Auburn at 7. So in the West, LSU, Bama, A&M, Ole Miss, Arkansas State, and Auburn is my list. I reserve the right pre-Labor Day to change said list. It's only July, but that's where I've got it at the current juncture. I will pick Georgia to win the Southeastern Conference in Atlanta. All right, let's come back and close it out. Hunt Palmer Show.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco, voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
For a Friday edition of Off the Bench. T-Bob and Hester are back in the studio, and we get ready for the weekend. Plus, we give a full recap of SEC Media Days and look ahead to the football season. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Round one of the Open Championship just about in the books over there at Hoylake. 3 players fired off 66s in round one. Amateur Christo Lamprecht, he's a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket from South Africa, shot 5 under. Tommy Fleetwood, 5 under as well, kind of the hometown boy. Emiliano Grillo shot 5 under as well. Group behind them at 4 under includes American Brian Harmon, Stuart Sink, and U.S. Open champion Wyndham Clark at 3 under. So is Max Homa. Jordan Spieth shot 2 under today. Patrick Reed 1 under on his round. Patrick Cantley and Brooks Koepka and Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele all in a group at 1 under. That is 4 off the pace across the pond in the Open Championship. All right, Jacob Beck, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Justin Thomas shot an 82 today in his first round at the Open Championship. Thomas will not make the Ryder Cup team. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it. Take it. He didn't break 80 in the U.S. Open in a round. He didn't break 80 today. He's in the wilderness and has been. He's ranked in the 30s in terms of data golf. Like, he just doesn't have it. And I think Europe probably took Sergio Garcia and Henrik Stenson and some of those guys over the years. When they weren't, Poulter, when they weren't in top form. And you just trust the guys under the gun to make it happen on what is not necessarily a championship level golf course in the Ryder Cup. And I don't think Marco Simone is that. But right now, he can't find the club face. So there's nothing he's doing well that would indicate he needs to be on that team. And I think that'll bum Jordan Spieth out because that's the guy he wants to play with. But right now, I can't put him on the team.
Homesick Candle Company has created a candle to remind you of Wrigley Field. Take it or leave it.
Well, I could recreate that smell in my home. I just go in the bathroom, pee in the toilet, and break a beer bottle on the ground, and I've got the Wrigley Field scent. I just need to bring some popcorn in there. Like, that's disgusting. Wrigley Field is full of sweat and stale beer and mediocre food. It's a lovely place. I love it dearly. I want to spend all my summer afternoons there. It doesn't smell good. So I could not be more out on this candle. Apologies. I'll take a highball glass with Wrigley Field on it. You give me the sounds of Wrigley Field with the Oregon crack of the bat. That's all great. The smell, that's going to be a no for me.
All right, last one here. The Colts revealed new alternate uniforms with black helmets. Take it or leave it.
I mean, what do you think I'm going to do?
Probably leave it.
Old disgruntled curmudgeon Hunt who doesn't like any fun uniforms. I'm going to leave it. The Colts have gorgeous uniforms. You're about to pull a picture up here. They've got black helmets and blue jerseys and blue pants. They look terrible. It looks awful. And they should go with the classic uniform that's got iconic helmet and a gorgeous, clean blue and white uniform. It's what Peyton looked like for all those years. I don't need the midnight helmets. Looks awful. That's it for Take It or Leave It. Curmudgeon Hunt checking in right as we're about to check out. Missed any of the show today. We talked Ole Miss. We talked South Carolina. We talked Tennessee. Talked Summer League baseball stats. Talked SEC football order of finish. Mine personally. You can catch all that on demand wherever you may find your podcasts. One more show to go from SEC Media Days. That is Matt Moscona. After further review, he is about to drive you home. We'll see you tomorrow for a Friday show presented by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Have a good Thursday evening.